Hi, everyone, and welcome to the MyConsultant.ca Show. I'm Sarah Ostapchuk,
And I'm Joshua Pentolaresco.
and we are here to help you with the Canadian immigration process. This show is designed to be a brief way to inform you on Canadian immigration news headlines, immigration policy and program concepts, and introduce you to industry experts. So, what's making news headlines this week, Josh?
Well, in the last week, Canada has held 5 different express entry draws that have specifically targeted PNPs. The latest was on November 10th this week. The minimum score needed was the second lowest of all the PNP draws, and the big reason there was such a focus on this was because the IRCC has been targeting people who are already in the country due to the pandemic.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. I'm sure logistically it's been a nightmare, as we've discussed in episodes previous to this.
Absolutely. So I mean, it just makes sense. They're already here. You might as well see if you help them come into Canada.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's not all the headlines that happened this week, huh, Sarah?
No, we are going to discuss a pathway that has closed. So the temporary resident to permanent resident pathway closed on November 5th, 2021. So they're no longer receiving applicants. Basically, this is a method to come into the country as a permanent resident, but just a temporary one. So it was always going to end at some point. But something to keep in mind is that they had 6 streams, kind of set up like PNPs, 3 of which were for English speaking people and 3 for French speaking people. And there was a cap on the English speaking applicants, but there was no cap for the French speaking applicants. And they had a lot less applicants for French speaking versus English speaking. And I think that just goes to show you that if you are able to speak French, if you have the resources to learn, do it, because it will give you an edge if you're trying to come to Canada.
Absolutely. There's definitely like the French language. I mean, Alberta side, and we'll talk about it in this week's one of my segment this week. French is a big part of the rest of the country. And for more information on a little bit of how it works in Quebec, also see my last segment from the previous episode in regards to how Quebec works.
Yeah, for sure. Even for native-born citizens here, French is a great way to kind of have a leg up in job opportunities. People want to hire you if you can speak French.
Exactly. And now we are going to a very special this week's concepts in immigration. You explored where you lived, right, Sarah?
Yes, so we're talking about RNIPs, which I will discuss what that means. But part of that program involves the town that I recently relocated to. So I thought, since I'm here, why not give viewers an idea of what it's like to live here?
That sounds like sort of like a lot of fun. So let's just get to it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's check out Moostra Saskatchewan with Sarah Stapchuk.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another segment of Concepts in Immigration. Today, we'll be discussing RNIP programs. That's right, we're throwing another acronym at you. RNIP stands for Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot Program. We'll also be discussing one of the participating communities in this program, Moostra Saskatchewan, which happens to be where I am currently located. Much like the PNPs, the RNIP program attracts immigrants who are looking to work and live not just in a specific province, but in a specific town. The towns use this program to fill vacant positions that have not yet been filled by locals. The application process is as follows. First, find an eligible job in the community of your choosing. Second, get a recommendation from that community using your job offer. And third, take that recommendation to the IRCC to apply for permanent residence. They will make the final decision. In order to apply, you must meet the requirements of both the IRCC and the community you are choosing to live in. These will vary depending on the community, but general requirements will include having an eligible job offer, having some kind of English literacy ability, and having the financial ability to relocate. Due to the COVID-19 work interruption, there is an exemption being made right now for having 1 year continuous work experience. Instead, you must have a year's worth of work experience over a 3-year period. Let's take a look at the participating communities in the RNIP program. Interestingly, it is not just Northern Ontario cities any longer. It also includes places in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and British Columbia. Let's start with Ontario. Towns include Thunder Bay, Timmins, Sudbury, North Bay, and Sault Ste. Marie. Moving along, we have Manitoba next, right between Ontario and Saskatchewan, and participating cities include Brandon and Altona Rhineland region. Next, we have Saskatchewan, which is between Manitoba and Alberta, and the participating community right now is Moostra. On to Alberta, which is between Saskatchewan and British Columbia. It is one of the more western provinces of Canada, and it also has just one participating community at this time, Claresholm, right down here. And finally, we have British Columbia, the most western province of Canada. You'll see over here, this is the Pacific Ocean. And they have two communities participating right now, which is Vernon and West Kootenay. You might be asking yourself, why live in these places? What makes them special? In these types of communities, real estate is much more affordable. The commute times are much shorter. The residents are friendly and the schools are good and there are well-paying jobs as well. So now we're going to take a look in depth at one of these participating communities, Moostra Saskatchewan, which is about here. And the reason we're looking at Moostra is simply because I have relocated there and been here for just under a year. I came originally from right around the Toronto area. Brampton is the town that I was born and raised in, and its population is just around 600,000. Moostra's population is 30,000, so it's been a big change of pace, but I'm excited to share with you why I've really enjoyed my time here.
Welcome to Moostra, Saskatchewan. This town has many names. The first was the Warm Place, which in the native Cree language sounded a lot like Moostra to European settlers, so that's what they called it. It was first established in 1882 as a railway depot by the Canada Pacific Railway and has grown significantly since then. The rail yard and Trans-Canada Highway make it a crossroads in the middle of Canada. You might also hear Moostra called Canada's most notorious city, a nickname from the Prohibition era. Al Capone used the railway system and underground tunnels in Moostra to smuggle alcohol to Chicago. This is also how Moostra became known as Little Chicago. The town's character extends far beyond its history. It is home to the tallest moose statue in the world. This is Mac, and he's a local favorite. Moostra is also home to a Canadian Forces base where the snowbirds fly. This is a static display of a Tudor used as a trainer plane from the 60s to 2000. They are now used as demonstration planes in air shows.
I hope that this little profile on Moostra, Saskatchewan was eye-opening and a great example of hidden gems in Canada that are ready and willing to welcome new residents. And let's go to Josh for a profile on Alberta.
Thank you very much, Sarah. That was an incredible segment. So while we go from your segment to we're going to continue the trend of current homes, but we're going to talk about my neck of the woods, Alberta. Alberta is a province with diversity in all ways. Eastern Alberta is a rural area while the western region you see behind me here is filled with mountains. Calgary and Edmonton is the dividing line between the prairies and the mountains. Beyond Edmonton, you can keep going north until you go all the way up to Fort McMurray and the surrounding forest nearby, where the northern lights are still out there. Many cultures and people are progressing and changing all the time in the province. Alberta is notorious for three different things. First off is the Calgary Stampede, which takes place every year. And on top of that, maybe not as well known, but as important, is the movie industry. As you can see here, Alberta is home to a lot of different movies that take place all the time. And as you can see in my hometown right now, there is currently a film being made. What could it be, you ask? Well, that can be revealed for another day. And finally, there is simply the oil industry, which is the other big thing it's known for. So Alberta, those are the big three things. When people talk about Alberta, this is what you're going to see. But wherever you go, no matter what you go, what you see, you will find a very hardworking, generous people in this province. Coming back here, it amazes me even now how friendly Alberta really is. I live in Canmore, which is known for two things, tourism and skiing. We haven't quite hit that weather for it yet, but when we do, if you see a squirrel carrying a hacky sack to its home, it was probably mine. I don't ski very well, but I digress. Alberta, much like the rest of the provinces of Canada, is part of the Rnip program as well, with Claresholm being the city in the province using the program. In 2020, Claresholm admitted 20 people into the town in the program. Although going through some delays with COVID, the program is still operating strongly. Clare's home is located between Lethbridge and Calgary off of Highway 2. It's a small community with a population of 3,700 people. It's a very relaxed pace and great for people who want a more laid-back lifestyle. Tourism and agriculture are the big industries here, but also Clare's home is a good place to get an education as the University of Calgary and Lethbridge have campuses there. Finally, it's access. Lethbridge and Calgary are both within reach. If you need something from the city, you can go get it, whether you go south to Lethbridge or north to Calgary. And if the city life isn't for you, you can go back to the tranquility of the country once you get what you need. Clare's home is a great place to work and get educated if you prefer a more rural way of living. I think that'll do for now. It's time to wrap up the show. Well, I gotta say, I really liked your segment on your hometown. Or is that your hometown?
Thank you. Yeah, I guess it's not technically my hometown. I mentioned in the segment that, well, I'm from Brampton, Ontario, but it is my new home.
How do you like it?
It's great. I said in my segment too, it's a definite change in pace. There are a lot of things that I don't have here that I miss in Brampton, but there are a lot of things that could never work in Brampton just because of the sheer number of people that live there, and it's all so condensed, as such a condensed living space. I mean, one thing that I really like about this town is the houses are significantly smaller than the ones I'm used to in Brampton. But in Brampton, your yard is just tiny. And here, the yards are bigger than the space for the house. So, there's lots of room.
Well, yeah. So because again, in a larger city like Brampton, although I know a lot of you guys from the GTA don't like to admit this, you guys are like that. It's a giant, like if you from the outside looking in, coming in from Mississauga all the way to Oshawa or even Bowmanville, it's one giant metropolis. That's what it looks like. So I can understand like the big house stuff because it's the only thing that's actually that's yours, right? Right. Whereas out here, I mean, you just got this amazing one of a kind like space that you're not going to get. It's not going to get filled up anytime soon.
Well, yeah, and that's something I also mentioned. My GTA brain sees the space and thinks, well, where are the developers? Like, where are the signs for the condos coming soon? Because the tiniest space in Brampton would be snatched up like that because it's just real estate is money. But that's a whole reason for moving out here is that real estate is so much more affordable. And for me and my family, like we've just begun our small family, and it's so much more affordable to live out here than it would have been in the GTA.
Absolutely. So I guess the last question before we wrap the show up is, I mean, is it growing on you?
Definitely. I was a little I guess annoyed that I had to come out here because I am here for my husband. He works on the military base, but I've been really enjoying raising my son here. It's a really good place to do something like that, and the community is just so friendly.
Awesome. For more information about the topics covered in this episode and previous episodes, please visit the website MyConsultant.ca, where you can explore up-to-date news on important issues, read in-depth articles, and other things explaining immigration and citizenship, and seek answers to your most pressing questions from a vibrant community of authorized immigration and citizenship consultants. Also, feel free to check out the My Consultant LinkedIn page for more information. I'm Joshua Penteleresco.
And I'm Sarah Ostapchuk.
Happy to aid and assist you on your journey to Canada.
We'll see you next week.